Hey guys, and welcome back to the Indie Spotlight here on the Fronsman Productions YouTube channel. If you're new to this series, this is where I take a look at independent movies to help shine a spotlight on some of the awesome talent out there making indie films. Also, you might have noticed the desk. This is actually part of the set design for a movie I'm going to be helping out on right here in my studio. So, it's kind of nice actually, not going to lie. Anyway, today's episode, we're going to be talking about James L. Edwards' newest feature film, the exploitation movie, Trivial. Trivial stars Sasha Graham, who plays Laurel Edmonds, the charismatic yet psychotic host of the Red Room meets game show known as Trivial. Following a clever credits montage that cuts between clips from old game shows and gory imagery, the movie opens up from the perspective of a victim waking up in the back of a van, and we watch as Laurel and her associate Chuck, played by Douglas Esper, talk over their plans. Not long after, we find ourselves in a garage turned makeshift studio where we meet our first two contestants of Trivial, Dean, played by James L. Edwards, and Chris, played by Adam Clevenger. It doesn't take the too long either to learn that Laurel means business. The rules of Trivial are quite simple, actually. Laurel will ask them a series of questions, and if they guess wrong, she'll cut them. And if they guess wrong 3 times, well, they die. As the game heats up and gets more and more intense, we learn that things get very personal. These are not random victims. We find out why Laurel selected specific people to be part of Trivial, as all of them hold some kind of dark secret. So that's all I'll say about the plot of Trivial so that I don't give away any major spoilers. Instead, what I want to talk about is I'd rather discuss some of the filmmaking aspects that make Trivial so great. The idea of a life or death game show is a simple concept, but it was executed very, very well. And part of that really goes into the way that this movie was both shot and edited. In particular, I really want to highlight the editing work of Larry Dubose. I really love the way that the film can kind of cut back and forth between the shots that, are very crisp, high definition. Those are the shots that aren't part of the actual game show within the movie, but then you have those shots where it almost has this almost retro home video, VHS, classic film, classic TV look to it. And that those are from the in-movie camera, that's the actual show that would be being broadcast on the dark web, in the movie's universe. And I really love the way that that was shot. Put me a little bit of the mind of Late Night with the Devil, and kind of how, that movie would bounce back and forth between the shots that look like it's part of the show and then the shots that are more behind the scenes of, the fake show for the movie. I really love the way that that was, really done in Trivial. I think the kind of unique editing style that Larry brought to the table in this movie really does help kind of set it apart and really gives the film its identity as, being shot in the perspective of the actual game show itself. Another thing that I really love about Trivial is how James L. Edwards really does take that less is more approach to filmmaking. The movie has a very limited cast. There's not that many characters in it, but the characters that we meet throughout, we really get to learn a lot about them, both good traits as well as, the not so good traits. And all the characters have a little bit of, good and some really bad to them. There's not really any good people in this movie. Can't say exactly why, but you get more time to develop a sort of connection and understanding and rationale behind each of the characters, because there's only so many within this movie. And then let's talk about the location. Most of this movie takes place in a garage, okay? That's pretty much the main location. But here's what that does, and this is why I think Trivial's especially so good to watch as an indie filmmaker, and why I say, the less is more approach can be so beneficial. We are trapped in this garage, in this makeshift studio for this game show with the characters. We're stuck there just as much as they are, and it helps build that deeper connection. And I actually think it really helps a lot with the suspense. You don't need 50 locations or, to have a very suspenseful and thrilling story. What you need is good writing, and good acting. And you can really take the time to fine-tune all those details that really flesh out the narrative and create a compelling story. And sometimes if you're working especially on a low budget, then having limited locations, having less moving parts really gives you that time to really focus on the story and be more intimate with it. So I think that James L. Edwards especially does a great job here. I really think that Trivial exceeds as kind of a single location feature film that is very engaging, very tense, very suspenseful, and at times very funny from start to finish. And I think the reason why that less is more approach does work so well in Trivial is really because of the very, very strong script, as well as, the cast. I think the acting from start to finish is terrific. From the likes of Rick Germain and Tim Novotny to Drew Fortier, this movie is packed with very, very talented actors who take their characters and take the already strong writing and bring that to life in ways that make them feel like real people. And I really do think that's where Trivial really shines, is in really fleshing out these characters. What I love is that there's always gray area. Every single character in this movie has gray area to them. They're all bad people in a sense. There's not a good person in this movie. Every single character has done something or is actively doing something very horrible. But for some reason, as the viewer, I can't find myself to actually hate any of these characters. And I think it's because they feel very human. They're flawed people, but they're people, and you can sympathize with them a lot at times, even when you find out some of the awful stuff that they've done. So overall, I really do recommend watching Trivial, especially as an independent filmmaker, just because it really does do a great job of showing you that, hey, you don't need a large ensemble cast. You don't need 50 stunts and all these choreographed action scenes. You don't need, all these really complicated locations. You can take a very, handful of actors. You can set the movie in one location, even something as simple as a garage. And if you're really creative and you can really work within those limitations and you have the innate ability to really understand how to craft compelling characters, and you have that ability to craft a compelling narrative and a good script, you can really make something special. And for all the non-filmmakers that might be watching this that are just looking for some movie recommendations, I would just recommend watching Trivial because it's a fun time. It's a very bloody, violent, but overall fun exploitation horror movie. I definitely think you should check it out. And here is the good news too. Speaking of checking out Trivial, the movie is out right now and you can buy a physical copy on DVD or Blu-ray. Yeah, I know, right? Most of the time I'm advertising where you can stream the movie. Well, Trivial, you actually can purchase a physical copy. I love that. I love that we're keeping physical media alive. It will be out on streaming services in the future. It's not right now, but if you want to see it and you want to get a head start and watch it before everyone else does, I'm going to link down in the description below this video where you can go and purchase a DVD copy or a Blu-ray copy of Trivial. I really recommend doing that. We got to keep physical media alive. I love DVDs as a collector myself. Definitely worth the purchase. But anyway, that's all that I have for you here today. Remember, if you like this content and you want to see even more videos on independent filmmaking, then you know what to do. You go ahead and you smash that like button, subscribe, turn that bell on for notifications. And if you are an independent filmmaker too, and you'd like me to talk about your movie right here on the Indie Spotlight, then just go down into the comments. Let me know what's the name of your movie, where can I watch it, and I'll add that to my watch list to talk about in a future episode. Anyway, guys, though, until next time, as always, that's a wrap.